Ledex, and you've got 3 more million rubles in your pocket.
Shut up. This always takes a little bit of prep. Just making sure I've got everything correct. That'll do. And then the rest I can just have the Word document. Cool. I'll get into it in a second. I'm just I don't know what's the word. Networking. Yeah, networking. Okay, let's get on with this, shall we? So, today what I have to do... Wait, I'm going to turn this down slightly. So yeah, today what I have to do is I have to write 2 essay plans, and then I need to write one of those essays. So, both of the essays are 15 marks. That's like quite a substantial essay. So we'll just start off with the first question and just kind of come up with a plan of how to answer it. So so the entire point of media language is that it just basically says that the different bits in the video connote different things to make you think of certain things. If that sounds incredibly incoherent and stupid, that's because it is, and I just described it in a really stupid way. What have I named the chat? Sorry. I'm not used to it, but yeah. I'm recording this stream as well, and so I will post it on my YouTube channel as like a VOD or something like that. Just so that if people can see that, maybe. But it might take like 7 years to install, depending on how long this takes me. Okay. So this is a 15 marker. An important thing with your structure is that you want to make a point, an evidence, and then explain, and then link it back to the question. So this is kind of weird. The thing with media language essays is that you sort of want to be almost listing out the different things that the video connotes and stuff like that. So what we'd want to do is we want to make like 2 lists essentially, one for Riptide, one for Formation. So let's start with Formation. So Formation has quite a bit that you can talk about in both. Well, Formation's quite good because it's got a lot of media language, it's got a lot of representation points, and it's also got a lot of context points. And then there's also like a few industry points you can talk about. So you can really talk about a lot with Formation. Riptide is a bit harder. There's a lot of there is a lot of media language points, but there aren't too many representation points. They're there, but they're not as strong. Please leave me alone. But yeah, that's generally how it works. I need to make myself offline on Steam and all that. Goodbye. No one says I don't plan these streams. Don't accuse me of that. Just making sure that the camera angle's in the right place. So yeah, starting out with Formation, let me think. I mean, first you want to have an introduction to it. So you probably see something like ideas and themes. I think that's important to know with media languages what actually is media language. So this can include things like as out right here. Mise-en-scene is quite literally like anything in the video. So it could be like mise-en-scene is like it's the scene, it's the whole thing together. So for example, if we have a look at my mise-en-scene, we've got like my desktop background, my chat, and everything all set out, and then the mise-en-scene also includes me. So like what I'm wearing, if I have any makeup on, what my hair's looking like. Like this is very unplanned. This is very amateur filming, so obviously you're not going to get as much mise-en-scene. But if you're a professional, every single thing in the shot is planned out and it's there for a reason. You're not just going to like randomly chuck something in. If something doesn't have a purpose of why it's there, then don't put it in your video. Things need a reason. It's the same thing with like stage, theater, or if you're making a film. But that's generally the gist of what mise-en-scene is. Everything needs to have a purpose. Everything needs to have a place. Other things you need to include. Things like props, yeah, things like things you can see. So in Riptide, that might include things like the gun, or the scissors, or the money, or the tarot cards, that kind of thing. I know I sort of said these are included in mise-en-scene, but mise-en-scene sort of is all of them together, kind of, I think. Don't take anything I say here as gospel. Set. Genre codes are important for music videos because there's quite a lot in music videos. Like everything you see in a regular music video, be it like lip syncing or performance, is a genre code. sparse narrative codes is like a very important one, and it's also fairly easy to remember, I find. You wouldn't really be able to write this in an exam. This is just sort of like how I would do it. I'm just going to set a little timer here for about 30 minutes because, or 25. I'm just going to assume that we've been going for 5 minutes. Just to make sure that we have time to get everything and so it doesn't take too long, because you sort of do need to do this under a time management. Including semantic, action, enigma. Ignore my awful spelling. And symbolic codes. Oh, he's here. It's him. But yeah, so semantic codes are like things that are connoted. So what are the meanings in the video? So for example, in Riptide, a semantic code might be with the money, because it's green, it connotes things like envy and wealth and stuff like that. An action code is someone doing something. So let's take formation, for example. The bounce dancing, that is an action code because they're doing something. An enigma code. Riptide is full of enigma codes because it's pretty much what the fuck is going on. An enigma code I like to use is always, who are these people? What is happening? But I don't think that will really carry you through an exam. A good enigma code for Riptide is something like, what is happening to these women, or who is doing this to these women. And maybe one for formation would be like, why is all this trouble being caused? You know, why is there an issue? It kind of, I guess that one would kind of make you think about the points that she's talking about, like racism and stuff. Intertextuality is like, does it reference another text? So with the formation, there's quite a few. So for example, she references like the antebellum clothing and the antebellum era things, which references like slave owners and stuff like that. Or she references the police brutality with the kid dancing in front of the riot officers. Riptide is a bit different. Riptide's kind of weird because Riptide is so literal with its music video, it's quite hard to find intertextual references. There is one intertextual reference, however. It's the one we were talking about last time with the guy cutting open the eye. I can never remember what the guy's called, however. I'll just look him up. Yes, this one. Salvador Dali. That was way too loud. Where's the original one? Hold on, let me find it. I need to remember this guy's name. It's quite important to remember. Yeah. Burnell. Louis Burnell. So yeah, Louis Burnell is an important intertextual reference for Riptide. Because if you watch this and you watch Riptide, there's a lot of like consistencies. So I'll just put him. So I remember that. But yeah, that's an intertextual reference. And then finally, a symbolic reference would be like a reference that is like usually it's a binary opposite, they say. So one in formation would be men and women, or one in Riptide would be something like the fragile sort of women and then the aggressive violent men, or something like that. because there is sort of a difference, and it's how that symbolism creates meaning. But yes, onwards with the question: how does media language incorporate viewpoints and ideologies into the two music videos that you have watched? If you haven't watched the videos, go back. I might end up watching them again because I don't remember them like frame by frame. I remember quite a bit, I'd say, though. So with this, you can talk about. Uh, Just sort of got like the cornrows and a part in the video. I think that's what they're called. I'm not fashion savvy. So yeah, like obviously you're not gonna do it in a point-by-point structure, but the thing with media language essays is that they essentially are like a big sort of list. And then after you make a bunch of points, you may want to like reference back as to how this creates an ideology. The problem is that you don't really want to branch too far into representation. So you don't want to be like, this media language shows black women to be strong or something like that. Like you could maybe touch on that, but it's a singular point. You don't want to dwell too much on it. So I've said, yeah, they connote unity and community. Yeah, you could mention something about like strength in the black community or strength between women or something, but don't focus on it. It's just like a very individual, quick point because it's a media language. In representation, go off, Queen, but not in that one. Just gonna get rid of that. What else could you mention? You could mention. You could say. Hurricane Katrina. More like Hurricane Tortilla. I want to punch a small child whenever I hear that. Like a genuine, that it fills me with rage and upset and anger and fury and lots of nasty things. God damn. I'm gonna try not to get too distracted here today. I'm gonna try and stay on topic for the most part. I do find it quite hard to focus, which is an issue, I know, which I'm probably not helping myself. But doing something like this, it's sort of, I can talk and I can waffle on, and then it also does kind of help, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't know, maybe. I'd say so. It is very important to talk about Hurricane Katrina in terms of formation, because it is a big thing. So yeah, as I said, you've only want to mention that once. You don't want to mention that again. You just want to be like, yeah, she shows she's strong, because otherwise you're just going to go into representation territory. I'm just trying to think back to the video, the different parts of it. That is an important point to know, because with music videos you have a song, so it's important to mention like what the lyrics mean and how they work with anchorage. Anchorage is when the text, like the film and the words work together. What else can we talk about? An important thing to do is to then link it back to the question. Awesome. So that's formation. Now we're gonna go on to Riptide. A nice thing about having an introduction like that is that if you are like stumped of what to write, you can just sort of look back at your introduction and you can look at what you've said there's going to be. Because I've said that there's going to be like sparse narrative codes, including semantic, action, enigma, intertextuality, symbolic, mise-en-scene, prop, set, costume, genre codes. Because I've basically said all that, I can then sort of think back, okay, what did I say there? And I can go back and talk about any of those points, which is quite useful. So Riptide. A good thing to note with Riptide is that the video is a literal interpretation of the lyrics. So it is quite literally whatever they say will come up in the video. So things like this cowboy's running from himself, or she's been living on the highest shelf, or oh, and then even they come unstuck. It is all like very literally of what is happening. Okay, got that. I mean, the literal interpretation kind of looks cool because you know you get and whether you want to give that meaning, it could vary. If I was going to take some stabs in the dark, like a thing you can do with the exam is that you can say this could connote, because unless you're the artist who made the video, you don't really like know what they actually want to sort of say. Like they could be trying to say anything. And so because we are not them, because I'm not Vance Joy, I can say, I think this is what he's trying to connote, or like, this is an idea of what they're trying to connote, because it's at the end of the day, it's your interpretation. And so for the example, it's alright if you sort of just have a stab in the dark. So trying to think what a literal interpretation of the lyrics could connote. I'm trying to think of a good one. It could connote. So yeah, so Riptide has a lot of like really strange and absurd imagery. Not necessarily absurd, but just strange imagery. And so you could use this like literal translation of the imagery into basically saying, it's saying that we speak too complicated, you know, people should just like speak normally, speak plainly, and don't have all these like weird metaphors because they're difficult to understand. It's muddled. And you could also say it, yeah, as I said, can also connote the complexity of life and other wanky shit like that. There's quite a bit of stuff. So, for example, this also means that pretty much the entire video is like some form of anchorage. So anytime they say left hand, there's a left hand on screen. Anytime they say riptide, there was like a riptide on screen. if they say getting away, they're someone escaping. It's like anchorage is the entire video is a form of anchorage, and you just sort of gotta deal with that. There's no real way around that. But it's quite good because you can constantly bring up anchorage, and then you can also say that this works into a genre code. So yeah, in terms of genre code, Riptide's weird because it doesn't follow usual genre codes that you expect, like lip syncing or performance. Advanced Joy isn't seen once throughout the video. However, it does use other things such as cutting to the beat and lots of anchorage. So I'll make that point now.
I'll love you forever. That's the problem.
Lo-fi music's weird, but I like it. If you want me to listen to a certain song, slam it in the chat. Just don't put bad music in the chat. I'll be the judge of what's bad and what's good because I obviously have a great sense of music. Contains anchorage. Also, say I am. That reminds me. I hate Microsoft Word. I can get rid of my man there. What else can we say? We can't talk about representation, as I've said many times before, so it's just a long media language. What else have we said? There's a lot of that. There's quite a few action codes which all sort of connote the same thing. can't spell airplane. Airplane. If you can like recognize themes in the video, it's quite good to sort of talk about motifs during it. So you can sort of be like, this connotes this, this also connotes this, so this is one of the themes of the video. You can kind of talk about. I think, I don't know. I'm just sort of guessing here. Educated guesses, obviously, but still guesses. We'll do 3 more points for Riptide. One more. Okay, and so that's basically the first essay, I would say. I mean, you could probably write a conclusion, which would be something along the lines of like, or So a pluralistic view is when there's many different ways to look at something. So you could talk about there being a pluralistic view in many of these videos, simply because they can be looked at in many different ways. So Riptide especially, you can look at it in so many different ways. And you might want to talk about that a bit in the actual essay, sort of with like, this could be seen as this way, however, it could also be seen as this way. Another thing that you could do, that you might want to do in Formation, is talk a bit about genre, like genre tropes. So in Formation, it uses a lot of performance and it uses a lot of lip syncing, stuff like that. So you could talk about that, for example. But yeah, that's that essay, I'd say. And we'll make another plan on the same sheet. Actually, no, let's do it on 2 different sheets. Let's just save that there. And let's move on. Right. So yeah, then now this is a representation question. So this, actually, I'm gonna take a quick break, and I'll be right back. So I just went to grab some butterscotch and I got a jug of water here.
Yes, this is a jam jar. The only true water container.
Just coming through well? Yeah. Right. Let's get started. So in general, like representation questions are a bit of a different beast. Yeah, they're just different. Because now you're looking at like representation is quite literally how something is represented. So everything is presented in a certain way, and so representation is how is this represented? Because you're presenting it a second time because it's once in real life, once on the screen. And so with this, formation is probably your main one. Because formation, you can talk about representation of black people, and then you can also go on to talk about representation of women, kinda. Hey man, how you doing? But yeah, formation, because formation's like so weird, it's kind of hard to find more representation things. However, you can talk a bit about representation of women, because there is often like violence towards the women and stuff like that. Ah, the goat is still here. I didn't realize that. How you doing, Enzo? Oh yeah. This. I mean, that's fine. I haven't got it. I'm fine. I mean, I got a sore throat, so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be dead tomorrow. But you know, nah, I'm fine. I'm actually kind of pissed off about it because a lot of people in my family have been getting some shtick for it. Like my sister's been sort of picked on a little bit, and some people have been rude to my mum, which you know I'm not happy with. But I have more important things to focus on. Like the issue for me is that I don't want to end up missing college because like I don't want to get worse because of this, which you know, because that would suck and I would be really pissed off. But it'll be fine. I'll be fine. It's like flu. A lot of people have recovered actually. The media doesn't talk about the amount of people that were recovered. Like a much larger amount of people have recovered from it than actually died. I think there's over like 13,000 have actually recovered from the virus, then died from it. I don't think even 10. I am studying psychology, media, and drama. So this at the moment is media. The reason that this is I like this for streams is because they give us like this revision sheet. So it's like a lot. It's a bunch of stuff, but you've got a week to do it. And it's quite good for me to sort of go through it and do it in detail because I'm not trying to rush it and just get it done because I'm actually trying to like talk through it as well. So it's good for me to sort of get it in my head. I've already made a video on psychology. I should probably put like my YouTube channel in my channel description on Twitch or something. But I've made a YouTube video discussing issues and debates, which hopefully my teacher will look at and sort of mark. But I don't know if she's done that yet. She might have done. But anyway, I will try and get on with this. So like the first one, we're just going to write a little introduction. So just think how the bloody hell I'd do that. I'm actually recording this for YouTube, by the way. So, because I know that, you know, not everyone can watch a stream or likes watching streams. So, like, I'm gonna post this entire thing on my YouTube channel afterwards. It's not gonna be cut or anything, so it's gonna be like my breaks and all that shit, but, you know, it's not meant to be like a good video. You can just sort of like hop and change. So yes, you will be on the video, Josh. A discrepancy that I always find quite hard between media language and representation is that representation can be created through media language, which is sometimes kind of weird because you can't really talk about one in the wrong essay, because that would suck. You can talk a little bit about the videos individually, I guess, as well. So I'm in my second year, so my exams aren't too far off. But in media, so far we have studied a movie poster, an advertisement. We've looked at like video ads. So the first one was a poster ad. We've also looked at a video ad. We've looked at music videos. Um, we've looked at Assassin's Creed 3 Liberation. Looked at Zoella's channel. We're sort of doing that and finishing that up at the moment. We've looked at newspapers, magazines, films. So we looked at Straight Outta Compton and I, Daniel Blake. And we've also looked at some TV shows, which is Humans, the one on Channel 4, and a French thriller called The Returned. We also had some coursework where I had to make a music video. So I did that a while back, and then a bunch of it got deleted, and so I did some more, a bit more recently. And then finally, a bit that we haven't done is one called Attitude, which is like a gay male online magazine. So there's quite a bit of content. But yeah, that's just sort of the way it is, really. Not all of it will come up in the exam, so there's a chance that some of it will come up. The way that the exam works is kind of weird. So in this part of the exam, in the first bit, there could either be like media language or representation. And so yeah, so the discrepancy with that is anything could come up for one of those. So it could be a representation question on music videos. But then you also have like an unseen one as well, where they just give you like a music video, they give you a poster, and you've got to analyze that and then compare it to something you have studied. So it's quite a bit, but it's alright. Yeah, I'd say it's quite interesting. I mean, like, I'm quite happy that I've taken it. I know that some people in my class aren't, but yeah, I kind of enjoyed it. Some bits I've enjoyed more than others. Like newspapers is a nightmare, but I'm gonna try and make a video on that this weekend. Wait, do you go to my college, Enzo, or have you just like come across me whilst browsing through? Because I know probably quite a lot of the people who watch my stream like know me just in life. I like my mates and stuff. I was inspired to do this stream because I kept having to explain things to my mates, and I thought, why don't I just stream it? Fair enough. Oh, welcome. Welcome. Sorry, I don't want to pry or anything. So unlike media language, you can't just make a list. You've actually got to like write things. Am I into FPS games? Kinda. Not like massively, but like if the game's good. Like it's not just if something's an FPS, I'll instantly like it. It's like, you know, it has to be good, you know. Formation. Yeah, sure thing. Um, a good thing to talk about with representation, especially with when you're involving theories, is whether a representation is stereotypical or whether it breaks stereotypes. So, like, whether it subverts them or not. Which, you know, I guess you could say it could break traditional stereotypes. Hello? Hmm? Everyone say hi to my mum. Say hi to the camera. Nice. Um, uh, hmm. Nothing to talk about yet, so you might want to talk about, like, women. Not bad. How are you? What am I trying to say? Are you here for me, or are you here for the work? Because both are average. Look, we got 5 viewers, mate. Popping off. Actually mental in this bitch. Okay, never mind. Back down to 3. Man, I was about to pop off. My goddamn jar's getting empty. I need to refill my jar in a bit. This isn't really a plan as much of me just like writing the essay, so I think I may just submit this as my essay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna say I've got... How long would you say I've been doing this essay for? Like 10 minutes? Let's just say I've got 20 minutes left. Yeah, so the bit I'm putting at the end here is just like a few things I forgot to mention, so like context-wise. Because in terms of context, it's important to... How do I put this? In terms of context, there's a few things which is important to notice um, about formation. So yeah, so there's this Black Lives Matter fist in the air symbol. Another important thing to notice is like the context. So it was released the day before the Super Bowl, and she performed it at the Super Bowl. I don't really know if it's this too relevant at the end there, just saying that it was performed at the Super Bowl, but I don't know, I guess it'd be a good thing to mention. I'm trying to think, I've got like a minute left on this part of the essay, if there's anything else I can mention about formation. Isaiah Beyonce is sort of shown as in charge, how they're shown as showing off. So yeah, in the the video did come under fire for like, you know, you're shit talking police officers, because they had like a quick shot of a boy dancing in front of RAT officers to sort of connote police brutality. Beyonce then quickly denied that, however. Okay, and on to Riptide, which is kind of weird. It doesn't really have as many representations as Formation does. For those of you who are wondering, the one of you watching this, hi. Dismemberment is a thing in the male gaze which sort of says that you only see a part of a woman, so you don't see the whole woman. You just see like an arm or a leg or a face, which is to sort of show them as like less human and more object. It's a pretty simple theory, which is quite nice to write about because it's easy to understand.
Fucking love jar water.
I'm trying to think of what I'm trying to say here. I'm basically just trying to say that the fact that she's dismembered isn't actually objectification, but instead it's sort of, as I say, it's another artistic choice. Uh, hmm. 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 One theory which is pretty good to talk about is Paul Gilroy's pick and mix theory, which basically says that the more variety of representations you have, it's easier for people to construct their own identity. So you can sort of talk about with this because there's such a big variety of representations throughout this video. I'm out of time, but I'll just write a quick conclusion. Right, that's my essay. It's not really a plan, more of just the actual essay, but I'll hand that in and I'll see how it goes. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and yeah, see you next time.